Hi, today we're going to talk about strategic planning. And this is skill number one of the Convention Industry Council's standards. And I gave you a link to the previous lesson in the overview of the class and of the week. So the strategic planning facet has three different parts to it. It's the discovery, analysis, and the planning. And when I go over these different facets, I'm going to use an event that I planned as a case study so that you can get more of an example of what these different categories mean. So the discovery is where you are asking questions. What is the purpose of the event? Why is it even taking place? The internal assessment, meaning what are the goals of the event? And then the business environment is comparing what you're planning to do to other organizations that are doing similar events. So when I was hired to produce the event at Cal State Dominguez, it was called the Presidential Scholarship and Awards Dinner, and it's still going on today. So it is called that. And I was working directly under the president's department, reporting directly to him because this was his event. And when I first came on board, while I was doing my discovery, I was asking him, what are your goals? What is your vision for this event? I know that it's a fundraiser, but what is your vision? And he said that he wants this to be a premier event because his goal for the university was to bring it to one of the top 10 urban universities west of the Rockies. That was his goal at the time. So we were competing. The students there are different than the students at UCLA or USC, but those were the close ones that I had to see what kind of similar events they were doing. So when I was doing my discovery, I said, why are you doing this again? And he said, it's to raise funds for the scholarship fund, specifically the Presidential Scholarship Fund, but also we want to give awards to outstanding community member and to an outstanding corporate member. So it was a two-facet event. One part was a fundraiser, and the other part of the evening itself was that it was going to be an awards show. So part of then the analysis is once I get this data, I was researching what have they done in the past, what were the results from that, what were the costs, and what processes did they have to have this event. So in my search and analysis, I found out that in the past they were doing it at the Marriott Hotel in Carson. And so when I asked the president, why was it done there? And he goes, well, this was before my time. So when the president hired me, we were both new to the university. And the reason I came on board is because he knew that I knew the LA market and that I came from corporate background. So I was working directly with the university advancement team, which the university advancement team of the university is the team that is the fundraising arm of the university. So in the past, they did it at the Marriott and in Carson. It was for about 500 people. And when I asked him who attended, how many sponsors did you get? What was the attendance like? And he said it was mostly staff, meaning like deans of schools, professors, and a lot of staff of the university. And I asked him, how much did you raise in the past? And basically it was equal. It was a wash. And some fundraisers are done on purpose like that, and that's to maybe raise awareness of a specific issue. In this case, it was more of um, an event that the community wanted to participate in to support the university. So when I was doing my analysis and coming up with the planning, I realized that the president wanted it to be more of a really of a fundraiser to raise events for the fund. So let's go back to the costs. How much do you think it costs to do a dinner at the Marriott Hotel in Carson? Well, at the time, maybe it cost, what can you get for $55, $65? Well, not very much. So the tickets were being sold about that. So you need to really figure out the cost before you come up with the ticket price if you're doing an event that is to be charged. And all of the other costs that go in there, like the beverages and the alcohol, if you're going to do that, entertainment, florals, and all that. So basically, some events are just to accomplish the budget, and others are to make net positive. So once you have done your analysis and your discovery, this is where you can do your planning. And this is an important part as an event planner because we're being hired, or the reason we're there is to help guide the staff or the people, or if we're going to be hired as an independent contractor, is to come up with these goals and objectives for the event. So the strategic plan is a very important part uh, it's an important part of our job for our client or our department if we are working in-house. So right after you do the discovery and analysis, in this case, I realized, okay, it hasn't really been a fundraiser in the past and they really want it to be a premier event. So what are we going to do? So I created the objectives and the goals for the event, and I was working with a committee, a corporate committee that was comprised of local community leaders and also people who really had an affinity of the university towards the university. And when you're an event planner and you're managing a group of a volunteer group who's helping put together the event, you have to be very careful on how you manage them because they really, really love they have a passion for the organization, and their opinion is very important, but we have to remember you are responsible for producing the event and all the costs, and eventually, in this case, the fundraising part, so hopefully it would be a plus net. So the objectives, I created the sponsorship packages and putting down the different types of breakdowns. For example, for the gold sponsorship level, you get to be the title sponsor. So putting sponsorship package together could be your position. Also, it could be maybe the marketing position. The second part here is strategic meeting management, and that's to maximize the resources so that you can achieve the results. And that comes into the financial part. When I was doing the event over there, I used the university's resources as much as I could. So, for example, I came up with the idea of not doing it in Carson. So when I was doing my research, I told the president, there's only 3 areas in LA that major donors, major sponsors want to go to. It's either downtown LA, Beverly Hills, or Century City. I said, I'm sorry, Mr. President, but Carson is just not a place where major corporations and major sponsors want to go to. So since I knew that his objective was to be a premier event because he wanted to show the university and the community that the education at Cal State Dominguez is outstanding. So when I knew that those were his goals, I told him, well, we can't do it in Carson. We're going to have to do it. If you want to play with the big boys, you need to go where the big boys go and big girls. A lot of the executives I know are women. So I proposed to do it at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. So one thing I learned was working with a nonprofit organization, which was one of my first times. This was a major one because I come mostly from corporate. The financial part, which is the financial summary here, is totally different. In government agencies, you have to have written proposals of 3 different vendors, explaining, and then you have to explain why you chose a specific vendor. So when I was doing my research, I had to get the proposals from 3 different hotels, but I really wanted to do it at the Hilton Hotel in Beverly Hills. And since they're one of the more expensive ones, I had to write a whole essay basically on why we selected to go to the Beverly Hilton Hotel. So those are some of the things that I had to learn working in a university and a government agency. Also, getting checks cut is a whole different thing. So the financial part of it, I requested that he created a budget for me, and that budget was basically a seed, like a bank, basically. So I knew that I had some seed money to be able to go to the hotels and say, hey, I want to do an event on X date. So when you do an event at a hotel, what's the first thing that they ask for? You say, I want to do an event, and you have a specific date. Do you think they just block out the calendar for your date? Uh, no. The first thing they ask for is a signed contract with a deposit check, even if it's a year or two in advance. So I had that I had that seed money to be able to do that. Any vendor, most vendors do require a deposit with a signed contract. So that's the financial part of it. And then the last part is the KPIs. KPIs are key performance indicators, and those are indicators that measure your success. A lot of HR departments use KPIs within a corporation. For example, where I work, there's KPIs. So at the end of the year, when they have your evaluation, they have KPIs that I have to meet. So, for example, in order for me to get a bonus, I have to make sure that I had absolutely zero accidents for the year, because since I manage a kitchen, a lot of things can happen in the kitchen or also in front of the house. People can slip and fall or anything like that. So that's one of my KPIs. So KPIs specific to the industry are things that you develop to measure the success of your event. So for the event of the university, one of the key KPIs was exceeding the cost of the event, meaning as we were getting ticket sales and sponsorships, those dollars that we were getting need to not only cover the cost of the event, but exceed the cost, because that extra amount is what goes into that fund for the presidential scholars. So that's a little bit background of what the planning part of an event is. And in conclusion, you got to know the requirements to produce your event. It's not just about the event. It's not just going to produce an awards dinner and have people show up and have entertainment. It's not just about the event. It's about what the goals that you are trying to accomplish. And if you are being hired as an independent planner, you better make sure that you acquire these that you meet these goals, because that is your job. We are at the helm of everything. We are responsible for every facet. Sometimes some organizations already have their budget um, laid out, and some organizations expect us to assist them with that. So budgeting is a primordial part of producing an event. So in the case of the Cal State Dominguez, even though that they never really overachieved their goals, it had raised a lot of community awareness of the great things that Cal State Dominguez was doing. So that's a good thing if it's a fundraising type of event. But when it comes to fundraising, and you really are dealing with maybe 400, 500 people event, you should have a positive net on that. So Any questions you have, put them on the discussion panel. You can email me and I will respond within 24 hours. Thank you.